During the winter, cold air seeps in through windows and causes problems for pipes like these. Many were fed up with the fact that they would be fenced in, away from the action, even prohibited from bringing in bags. 3 weeks after Election Day, and the issue of implementing Amendment 64 remains a mess. The clock is ticking for Congress and the President to come up with a solution for the looming fiscal cliff. 1-7, tied for last in the Pac-12 South, one of the worst defenses in the country. Fire officials estimated that the Fern Lake fire is 20% contained. Their main concern is making sure the flames don't reach Estes Park. Meanwhile, the Rockies of 2013 starting to look an awful lot like the Rockies of 1996. The success of Amendment 64 may have pleased many Coloradoans, but there are still plenty of questions to be answered. Questions which seem to confuse even our own governor.
It's hard to imagine the chaos that would result if state by state you had, one state legalizing it and one state not legalizing it.
In addition to confusion over the federal government's role in Colorado, the state will need to figure out how to properly regulate the sale of marijuana and decide what taxes can be collected from the drug.
Our General Assembly has to go through and create the detail and propose a taxing initiative.
Colorado had already approved the use of medical marijuana. Now local dispensaries are unsure about the future of their business.
Everybody wants to come in and buy some nice marijuana.
The owner of this Denver dispensary says people have been calling him constantly after Tuesday night's decision.
We open at 9. Since 9 this morning it's been ringing.
The process of sifting through all the details of the legalization, as well as coming up with enforcement measures, could take months. As was the case with the rest of the election results, the only thing clear after Amendment 64's approval, the real work begins now. Tim Benson, CBS 4 News.
You're watching CBS 4 News in high definition.
Our top story tonight is the wildfire that just won't go out. The Fern Lake fire continues to burn in northern Colorado, and firefighters are getting no help from the weather. Good evening, I'm Tim Benson. The Fern Lake fire has been burning since early October. The fire is burning up in the Rocky Mountain National Park. It has now consumed over 3,500 acres and destroyed at least one home. CBS 4's Rick Salinger is on the scene and shows us why residents needed to be evacuated.
The room was packed, and evacuees heard the news they wanted. If all goes well, they will be able to go home soon.
Fire officials estimated that the Fern Lake fire is 20% contained. Their main concern is making sure the flames don't reach Estes Park. A Jefferson County man is accused of impersonating a firefighter during one of the biggest wildfires in state history. Michael Meyer appeared in court today after admitting to impersonating a firefighter. Meyer was on the scene of the Lower North Fork fire this June. The Jefferson County Sheriff says Meyer stole equipment from firefighters. He faces counts of criminal impersonation as well as theft. Meyer's attorney claims his client is humiliated but was not looting from the fire department. Meyer pleaded not guilty to the charges today. Police continue their search for suspects after a bank robbery in Aurora. Earlier today, 2 armed men entered a U.S. bank on Colfax Avenue. There were several customers in the bank when the robbery happened. The suspects fired shots to intimidate workers. Thankfully, no one was hurt. Police say the suspects did leave the bank with about $500 in cash. Several schools nearby were placed on lockdown while officers searched for the suspects. Authorities have encouraged the public to come forward with any tips on the case. Workers at a nonprofit center in Lafayette got a surprise this morning. The front of the building was the scene of a car crash, and as CBS 4's Jennifer Bryce reports, police are now investigating a burglary.
They just took the whole front, just bashed out all the glass. The real burden is the distraction of it.
The Real Choice Center says they helped over 75 families during Thanksgiving. They had plans to reach out to more during the holiday season, but they may not be able to do so now. Some students in Colorado will have an extra 300 hours of class time added to the calendar as soon as next year. Colorado is one of 5 states to take part in a new education initiative. 4 Colorado school districts will restructure their school day. The pilot program is designed to give students a more personalized education. The program is set to impact about 5,000 Colorado students. Educators think the change could be just what students need to succeed.
You ask anybody in education, what's the one thing everyone always says they can't, that even before money, if you ask a teacher what they don't have enough of, it's time.
Governor Hickenlooper spoke out in support of the project earlier today. The state will receive a federal grant to help pay for the teachers' extra hours of work. The clock is ticking for Congress and the president to come up with a solution for the looming fiscal cliff. The federal government now has less than a month before a series of tax cuts expire and certain services are cut off. Earlier today, House Republicans proposed a deal to President Obama that would cut some Medicare benefits and preserve the Bush-era tax cuts. The president wants to protect Medicare and Social Security from spending cuts and instead raise taxes on high-income Americans. The issue of raising taxes on the rich is the biggest divide in the debate.
Let's allow higher rates to go up for the top 2%.
Closing loopholes, especially on those who are wealthy, is a better way to raise this revenue than raising rates.
President Obama has said he won't accept a plan that doesn't raise rates for the wealthiest Americans. Japanese officials are investigating tunnels across the country after a deadly accident. Earlier today, a highway tunnel near Tokyo collapsed, killing at least 9 people. Concrete slabs started falling inside the tunnel, hitting moving vehicles. Several cars caught fire. The accident occurred near the middle of the tunnel, making it even more difficult for rescue workers. Authorities think that bolts used to hold the concrete slabs in place may have come loose. This woman barely got out alive after a slab from the tunnel cut her car in half. Rescue work is set to resume to look for any potential survivors. The Japanese government is now inspecting many of the nation's tunnels, hoping to prevent another tragedy. The government operates 49 other tunnels around Japan. And a Colorado landmark is set to get a huge makeover. Denver's Union Station will undergo major renovations over the next year. CBS 4's Kathy Walsh shows us exactly what is in store for this historic building.
This is the Great Hall of Denver's Union Station. Take a good look, because a project is now officially underway to make what's already great even better.
It'll be a completely different experience than it is today.
Historic Union Station is undergoing a major transformation, what some call restoring the past and rethinking the future. Construction will begin this week.
The transformation of the building is set to begin today. The revamped Union Station plans to open in mid-2014. And later on, the Broncos coming off a big win yesterday. Coming up a little later in sports, find out what the team did yesterday they haven't done since 2006. And later on, a Colorado couple is the driving force behind one of the holiday shopping days. Next, we'll show you how you can still get a good deal just in time for Christmas. Plus, meet Abby and Marco. They're a couple of the thousands of Boys and Girls Club members that could use a little help this holiday season. Coming up next, we'll show you how you can get involved.